Hey, Mystic Michaela spiritual family. Welcome to Know Your Aura with Mystic Michaela. Today, I am talking about some inspirational insights from the other side. As a medium, I am so blessed and grateful to be able to connect with people who've crossed over when I do readings for all of you. And I always say, I only get what they give me, and that's the truth. But sometimes they give me, well, all the time, they give me such inspirational insight. And I wanted to take a few of these and share them with you today to provide hope and comfort and your own connection as well. But first, hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys. Well, I was given the task of coming up with an open.
Yes.
And my first thought was, let me look into some maybe historical figures that have had experiences with mediumship.
Okay.
So I was doing a little research, and I came up on Abraham Lincoln. But, you know, I was reading about it, and yeah, he lost a child, Willie. They lost Willie. I believe it was their eldest son, him and Mary Todd Lincoln. And then they kind of went into a space where they kind of sought out, you know, mediums, spiritualists is what they would have been called at that time. And he had a lot of prolific dreams, and there was a lot going on with that in their lives, I guess. But I wasn't feeling it.
Okay.
Something wasn't clicking.
You didn't connect to that.
I wasn't connecting to it. There was mediums that hung around them, and I felt like they were kind of more charlatans than anything else from the reading.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because as I was doing the research, I came upon this article, this magazine of an actual psychic magazine that came out from Lilydale, New York.
Okay.
This was in the 1930s. So what is Lilydale, I guess, to answer your question? All right. So let me just define a few terms just for newer listeners. I know we did an episode on this a while back. But let me just do a couple definitions here. All right. So spiritualism, just the word spiritualism is basically a movement based on the belief that departed souls can interact with the living.
Yeah.
That's the definition.
It's a real religion.
Yeah. It could be considered even a religion.
Mm-hmm. They do.
Yeah, they do. So basically what a spiritualist does is they will make contact with the dead, usually through a medium. What is a medium? Well, you're a medium. People listening could be mediums. Anyone, I guess, could be a medium.
Yes.
So a medium is someone who can connect with the spirit directly.
Mm-hmm.
That's the definition of a medium. Okay. So in the 1880, Lilydale was founded in Casadega, New York, very close to your hometown of Buffalo. And it was called the Lilydale Spiritual Assembly. And over the decade, it kind of grew and grew and grew, which is actually funny because actually spiritualism was kind of dying out a little bit. But in Lilydale, it was actually expanding.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So in 1906, they took the official title of Lilydale. And it's basically just a community of spiritualists. It still exists today. You can go today. Many known people made a stop by there in the early 1900s, including Susan B. Anthony.
Yeah.
So it was a cool place to go. And basically, it was a place to further science, philosophy, and the religion of spiritualism.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and we've been there a lot.
Yes, we've been there.
Growing up, I've been there lots of times.
Yeah.
It's a really cool place. Definitely think about going. You'd never think like, hey, I'm going to go vacation in rural Western New York. Yeah.
Right.
You might want to. Lilydale, it's got... and this is not an ad. It just really has something for everybody. And even if you don't believe in any of this, it is the most beautiful, quiet, calm, serene vibration when you go there. I think there's only 250 residents. You have to, there's a lot of qualifications for doing mediumship there. It's basically a hamlet of mediums. And it's historical. And overall, it is like walking into... To me, it feels like back in time. Like you're in a place where things just don't touch you the way they touch in the rest of the world. It's a real break from, I guess, our world. You really feel like you're entering into a different space when you go there. It's the coolest place.
Yeah. All right. So let me go through this little magazine that they published. It's called The Psychic Observer. It came out in February 10th of 1939. Bear with me. The print is very small of this.
I'm going to put this in the show notes so you can all look at it too.
Okay. And this was their 10th what do you call it?
Edition.
10th,
okay.
Yeah, 10th magazine that came out. So again, we have to look at the source. This is coming from Lilydale. This is coming from the Lilydale Assembly.
This is like your DBQ. For those of you
question.
who don't know, Scott used to be a history teacher.
Yeah.
So this is funny.
All right. And just to give some context, 1939, you're on the eve of World War II. World War II begins September of 1939. So you're less than a year out from World War II. But again, just for context. All right.
Okay.
So, and the reason why it came up is because there was an article about Abraham Lincoln being an emancipator that received messages from spirit is one of the articles. That's why it came up in my research.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So they had an article about him in there.
Yeah.
And his connection to spiritualism.
Correct. So, yeah. So this was the one that really, article that stood out for me, though. And it was Science versus the Religion of Spiritualism. So
Okay.
it says, the article says, what science says about death. And in 1889, narrow-minded scientists decreed, man does not survive death. It's contrary to the laws of science.
Okay.
So basically what they're saying here is in the 1800s, late 1800s, science, we're not even going to think about what you guys are talking about with spiritualism.
Right.
Okay.
Well, yeah. I don't know how much has changed.
Right. But then, well, again, remember our source is the Lilydale.
Our source is Lilydale. Right.
Okay. And then in 1939, it says, noted scientists reluctantly affirm survival of bodily death, scientifically speaking, is extremely probable. So, yes. So the article is basically telling you from 1889 to 1939, now it's probable. You know,
where's that
it went
source?
from no way, and you know what? And now it's probable.
Right. Where was that? So they just said that. Okay.
Yeah. And then they go on, the article goes on to give all these investigators who now believe that it is possible, or actually it is probable, that you can connect with, life. And again, when I was doing the Lincoln thing, that's what Lincoln was trying to do. He was trying to connect with his son as well. So
it sounds like they're really trying to make it scientific.
Yeah.
In Lilydale in a way that. And if I don't know if you're going to go into that, but there are certain ways that they used to connect and try to prove it in a scientific way, which now can seem a little campy.
Right. Yeah, and that's basically the gist of you can go, if you want to read it for themselves, they can go find the article.
It's entertaining.
It's very interesting, and it's really fascinating. The advertising in this Observer, this magazine, it's just incredible. I want to go just through some of these things that they were selling.
Oh, you love this.
I just love this and the pricing and everything.
So these are mediums selling their services.
Yes. So you can get a gazing crystal imported from Czechoslovakia.
Ooh.
That would be like your crystal ball.
Yeah.
2-inch. If you want a 2-inch diameter one, that's going to cost you $2.25.
All right.
If you want the big boy, that is going to be 6 inches in diameter. That's going to cost you $17.
Whoa, that's a lot.
That was a lot in
back
1939.
then.
Yeah. A lot. Ouija boards are for sale. You can get one for $2.25.
Ooh, I do not recommend that.
Yeah, postage is prepaid on that.
Hey, it's a deal.
Yeah, another big thing that they were selling was trumpets. And we went through this in that episode.
Yes, we did an old episode about that.
The trumpet was a big tool for the medium in the late 1800s. And you can get the trumpet, a professional-sized trumpet will cost you $3.75. I don't know what a student size is. I guess when you're practicing, a little bit less. That'll be $3.
How did they use them? It was that they would call upon
the spirits
to blow into the trumpet and make music. Again, it was their way of trying to connect proof to it. But now it's trumpet mediums. It's a campy thing to kind of make fun of a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, there was that term, you're a trumpet medium, but that is now. I don't know if that would be a compliment.
Right. I don't know. Yeah. This is our inside psychic humor.
You can get they call them ESP cards. Today, I think most people call them tarot cards.
Okay.
Or Oracle deck, right?
Right.
So you can get those for $1 per set. These are the duplicates of the set used at the Duke University in Durham, North Carolina, in the extra sensory perception test inducted by Professor Joseph Banks Rhine, conducted experiments in clairvoyance and telepathy.
Oh, so that's
so you get that duplicate deck for $1. Pretty cool. It's interesting here, I guess today psychics and mediums, they advertise by doing a story on Instagram, right? Or Facebook or something, or they have a Facebook group and
right. This would have been us back then. We would have been in, wait, what's it called? The Psychic Observer? Or
Yeah, the
something?
Psychic Observer.
We would have been in the Psychic Observer.
Yeah.
Like you would have been. Like, yeah, Megan.
Megan, you gotta get
Megan, let's advertise in the Psychic Observer.
Yeah. So,
It's 1903 or whatever. I don't know. What year did you say? 1939.
yeah, it's pretty cool. So there's like this list, and there's all these mediums, and they all have different ways you could do it. Ida, I won't give the last name. I'll just say Ida says, questions answered by mail. Send $1 to Burr Street in Rochester, New York.
Okay.
So I don't know what the return is on that. Like, how do you ask your questions and then?
Yeah, she gets back to you.
Yeah, I mean, you can do an email reading. And,
It's like an email reading.
yeah, it's like that would be like an email reading.
Yeah, like you ask the question and then she probably writes a response and then sends it to you.
And there's a lot of these, Reverend. A lot of them call themselves reverends at the time. Reverend Miller, 35 years mediumship experience, 6 questions with reading, $1. Send to Boabel, North Dakota.
Oh wow!
So
okay.
I don't know. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
Here's another interesting. A lot of these people were selling books too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and that
I know not much has changed.
yeah. Psychic powers may be yours. And this was another little article. An amazing discovery that has helped many develop their latent psychic power.
Oh yeah.
This book will tell you all about it. You have too many psychic powers by meaning you too may have You too may have psychic power by means of wonderful psychos. I don't know what that is. One of the most unique discoveries of modern time.
Oh.
Have you envied those endowed with the gift of psychic power? Would you like to enjoy the same unusual experience?
Okay.
Then you would be buying this book.
That's cool. It's like my psychic workbook.
That's like your psychic workbook.
Yeah. People have always been trying to tell people, hey, you can do this too. Let me show you how.
Yes.
Yeah.
They will teach you how to do automatic writing.
Yeah, I do that in my psychic workbook.
And there's The Secret here. The Secret. Remember, wasn't The Secret
The
That
Secret.
was a big book? Yeah.
Yeah.
But The Secret for this is I don't know what these psychos are they're calling.
How do you spell it?
Psychas.
Huh.
Psychos? I don't know. They work by polarizing the aura, concentrating it automatically, giving a proven power increased in some cases. I don't know, but we'd have to know what those psychos are. Or
Wait, how do
whatever.
you spell it? P-H-Y-S-A.
P-S-Y-C-H-A-S.
S-Y-C-H-A-S. Oh,
And you can get that book for the low price of 23 cents. That could be yours.
that's a bargain.
That is a deal. So, just very fascinating. If you want to just go through this Psychic Observer from Lilydale and look for yourself, just really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I love that they were a place for people who just had a different mindset, a different perception, and they definitely fostered a context for people who just have different connective abilities. I think everybody from the beginning of time, throughout human history, people have sought out that connection to the other side.
Yes.
It's not an abnormal thing. It exists in every culture throughout time. And it's just interesting to see how it manifests at that time.
Yeah.
And what that looked like. And it was so cool that I just grew up near there.
Yeah.
And I don't know what a rich connection it is. It's a very, I will say this, that community is very inclusive and very kind and very professional. They do, especially at Lilydale, they definitely keep it professional. It's a lot about learning and teaching and talking and bringing people together, collaborating. And it's a nice that they had that back then, because in that culture, it probably wasn't, at that time especially, wasn't exactly smiled upon.
Yeah.
So it was a place where it could be. And maybe they had to have a little bit more edge on them, like narrow-minded scientists. It's like, we can't, it was like, this is where we're not putting up with that kind of talk. There's enough of that out there. When you come to Lilydale, it's real, okay? Or get out, they're just not. So maybe they had to have a little bit more of that edge to them.
Yep.
I think that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, being, studying history, this is just fascinating stuff. I still haven't read all the articles. I'm going to go, read a little bit more about them. I mean, the print's so small. That's what's the trouble for me. But other than that, it's been great. All right. So we'll take a quick break. Inspirational insights from the other side coming up.
Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys. Well, look, our lives have changed.
They have.
Okay. The litter robot came to our home.
It's
and
awesome.
I'm going to tell you, this has been a life-changing experience. Mystic Michaela has been on her phone tracking our 3 cats' bowel movements, their everything, just when they go to the bathroom.
I'm obsessed.
She's obsessed.
I'm obsessed.
You don't understand. We're eating our bagel the other day, having a great time, and then she's like, "Ooh!" And I'm like, "What? Oh, did we get like a good offer or something?" She's like, "No, Rocky just went pee in the litter box." I'm like, okay. And you don't understand. This is all day long. We have 3 cats. They're constantly peeing and pooing. And I'm constantly getting these, oh my gosh. And I'm like, what? Eventually I'm going to learn that it's just a cat peeing and not to get excited. But yeah, at this point.
The litter robot has changed my life. You guys, I don't scoop the litter anymore. I have 3 cats, okay? And I'm the only one that takes care of them because nobody else wants to scoop a litter. So I was doing it. I have 3 cats, so at least once a day. Most of the time, if I'm honest, like twice a day. I have not scooped since I have gotten the litter robot. I can't say enough how much I love this thing. I'm obsessed with the cats. So when they're happy, I'm happy, and I really do mean that. And you can hook your litter robot up to your phone. Like there's an app, and I totally did that. And I put on the notifications. It tells me how much they weigh. It tells me how frequently they go. I have a better understanding of their habits for their own health and wellness. And they love it. And I'm going to put up so many videos. Just get ready about these cats using the litter. Because, obviously I'm camping out and watching them go in.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Scott's concerned.
I'm just concerned that it's going to go further. And it's going to go to myself and the kids. Because I know if she had the ability to watch, and moderate when I do that, she would. Okay? We're like the cats. We're treated like the cats. But actually, the cats are treated better.
You never have to scoop again with Litter Robot. Litter Robot self-cleaning technology automatically cleans after every use, so your cats will always have a fresh bed of litter to do their business. And your friends won't think your house smells like a litter box. And get this, Litter Robot does send a notification to your phone when it needs to be emptied. It even gives you data and insights to stay on top of your cat's health. It does not get any easier than this. Your cat will thank you. My cats love it. You can join over 1 million happy pets and pet parents who've upgraded to Litter Robot. What are you waiting for? This is a life-changing event. As a special offer to listeners of the show, go to stopscooping.com/KYA and enter promo code KYA to save an extra $50 on any Litter Robot bundle. That's an extra $50 off any Litter Robot bundle at stopscooping.com/KYA and enter promo code KYA at checkout. Stopscooping.com/KYA and enter promo code KYA. Today, I am talking about insights from the other side. I've done other episodes like this. The way that I do mediumship, it's such a blessing that I'm able to connect with your loved ones. And I say this a lot. I say, I only can see what they show me. That is how I see the other side, the little glimpses and just the inferences I take from what they give me. And I like to share those with you. So I think I'm sharing about 7 or 8 today. And I hope they bring you comfort. And I hope they bring someone you know comfort, because these are real stories from readings I've done, I think in the past 3 weeks. And these are real people who are affected by the loss of somebody. But the way that the mediumship comes in is hopeful and it's supportive. So here's my first insight from the other side. The more you open yourself up to them, the more they stay around you. So I got to read a medium. And I've read mediums before. It's different reading mediums. Most of you, a lot of you, can communicate with the other side. Usually you get little messages from people that you know, or, maybe people that you love, or your friends, loved ones on the other side. And sometimes it's sporadic. Well, the lady that I read, she is a working medium. So talking to her was really cool because she gets it. You know what I mean? And she was really there to talk about not so much her loved ones on the other side, because I get this too. It's always nice, but I feel them myself, and she feels hers herself. She came because she was talking about, the aura color perception and just a different way of thinking about things, because even though she's such a gifted, beautiful, kind-hearted medium, a healer, like somebody that is truly trying to help people and connect with the other side for all the right reasons, this lovely person, but guess what? Her family's religious, and they are religious in the sense that they do not support this. And this is something that if it came out, it would be really detrimental to her relationships with her family members. And she's just stuck in the middle of that right now. Like, that's where she is at right now. And so her struggle, spiritually in herself, was being open about what she does and what would happen if they found out, and how to move forward. Like, how can I keep helping everyone how can I keep helping all my clients and grow myself this way and do this more? At some point, I'm going to have to come out of the psychic closet, basically, to my family. And, I've been there, so I totally get it. And it's not easy. So anyways, we were talking about this, but her grandparents showed up who had passed. Her grandparents did show up. And it was really funny because her grandma was a pink aura, and her grandma was really funny, and she was, trying to give her tips on how to do her hair and her makeup and kind of giving her image advice for her mediumship career. And her grandpa, grandma's husband, was coming in kind of like salesman, like confident, like, let me talk to the family members. We're going to have a little chat, like real patriarchal. And they showed me that they weren't 100%, into this when they were alive, not for any other reason that it just wasn't a thing for them in their life. But on the other side, I'll tell you, everyone who didn't believe in it obviously has to, because they're talking. The ones I come in contact, they're like, well, I guess this happened. I guess it's true. So anyway, so they were coming through and giving her some sort of like marketing / PR advice for the family, which was so funny because she said that sounded just like them and that she was getting the same kinds of messages from them. But here's the thing. After the reading, usually after any reading I do, you take your people with you. I was, however, I go about my day. I have a life, where I'm very normal. So I'm cooking for my kids. I was actually making grilled cheese, and I kept feeling her grandpa behind me, around me, walking around. And it doesn't scare me at all. Like, and I've said this before, I'll take dead people any day. Like, really, they're not a problem. They're just people. But he was kind of waiting. And like that feeling when you're doing something and and someone's waiting for you to finish up, and they're just like, I'll just wait till you're done. I'll just wait till you're done. And you're like, oh, well, okay, no, let's just tell me now. That was the feeling I got. And I felt him like around my house, like checking out my house, like, you should get this looked at, kind of giving me, he was puttering around my home. And to the point where I knew what he wanted me to do. He wanted me to message this young lady back. Even though the reading was over, he wanted me to message her back and give her more tips and more encouragement to go after her dreams and to keep being a medium. And so I wrote her back. I emailed her. I said, listen, your grandpa is hanging out and he's so strong in spirit. And these are his messages for you. He supports you. He believes in you. He accepts you, all that. And she just was like, thank you, because it didn't surprise her at all. And then she was so sweet. She said, and if you want to, because that's the other thing. When you do mediumship, you kind of have a team of people. Now you all have this yourself, but I have my team. I've got my grandma, and I have people who've passed who I ask for help. And these are her people that she asks for help. When she does mediumship, they're part of her team. And she was so sweet. She's like, you can ask my grandpa for help in your mediumship. And I'm like, that is so sweet. Like, he's just, so yes, the more you believe that they're around, the more you interact with that, the more they truly do stay around. So I wanted to tell you that story about what it's like reading a medium, because it's kind of a little surreal, and her dead people are very strong in spirit and hung out with me after.
Hello, podcast fans. If you're looking for a new podcast, if you enjoy articles, books, pop culture, and hilarity, try listening to the Brain Candy Podcast.
That's right. The Brain Candy Podcast has over 500 episodes of educational hilarity to satiate your learning needs. Just search for the Brain Candy Podcast on your podcast app or click the link in the show notes.
Okay. The second insight from the other side is, here's the deal. Like, when they pass, they don't like lose their personality. So they're going to come through to you in a way that makes sense to their own personality. Not everyone's a cardinal. You know what I mean? So I'll give you an example. I was reading a young woman and I felt her brother really strong, and her brother had indeed passed way too young in a tragic, tragic way, which I felt. And, she was like, and he came in with all this, like how he passed and stuff, just some details or whatnot. And then she asked, she's like, I don't feel like I connect to him, or he shows me signs like that. And immediately, as soon as she said that, I saw, and it's clear as day in my third eye, and I asked her as I was seeing it, because I saw, those, I don't even know how to describe them. Every guy in like the 2008 wore them. They were like those leather necklaces with some sort of metal thing, a metal charm or whatever on it. And they all wore it. And I said, listen, I'm like, did he pass around that time? And I'm also seeing a necklace. And I described this necklace to her, and she goes, I'm wearing that necklace right now. That was his necklace. And I was just like, oh my God. Well, you see, that's how he's coming through to you. And I've talked about this in a different way. When you wear their jewelry, it is easier for them to come through to you. It's kind of a touchstone, and it straddles the other side to here. But also, that was his way of being like, I see you. I'm here. I was with you when you decided to put it on, and I'm with you now. And then he was making jokes, like a brother would. And I've talked about this in other podcast episodes, but the way that your loved ones are going to come through will make sense to just how they were in life. So the signs might be a song that was playing, or it might be kind of like a symbol that you would have together, or somebody says something that they used to say a lot. So while it can also be butterflies and feathers and hummingbirds and all the things that it is too, I do say look for personalized signs that also show a sense of humor, because you don't lose it when you pass. Okay. 3, my third insight from the other side is there are no step relations in spirit. So there's no step, like stepmom, stepdad, stepbrother. That all kind of goes away on the other side. So what happened is I was reading a young lady, and even before I could get into her reading, there was a picture of a man, and I got the word dad, it's dad on top of this picture. And I like strong energy rushing in, like, I'm dad. And I said, hey, this picture, is that your dad? And she's like, no. And I'm like, okay, well, he's coming in saying, I'm dad. Well, it was her father-in-law. Okay. So there's no in-law in spirit. There's no step. There's none of those like weird little extra things we put on, your first cousin, your second cousin, your third cousin, that's all cousin, that kind of thing. Anyway, so he felt like he had passed really, really suddenly. And they knew, and then he came through and he was showing me a baby, and he's like, I know, thank you. Like kind of like a preeminent thanks. And I'm like, he's showing me this baby, and he's just like, thank you. And then I have to use my brain, which I don't like doing when I do mediumship. I like to just keep it what they say. But sometimes on the other side, they just say stuff and they expect me to get it. Kind of like people do sometimes, when he's like, hey, thank you. And I'm like, he's showing me a baby, and he's saying like, thank you. And it feels like something to do with you naming the baby after him. And she was like, oh, we talked about that, naming our if we have a boy after him. And I'm like, I feel like that's almost already happened, like, because there's no time on the other side. So it feels like he's already showing me it happened, and thank you, like that. And And then he showed me like golf stuff, and her husband, his son, had received all his prized golf clubs and whatnot, which felt really nice. Like, here, a gift from me to you, even though his son got it after he passed. So they can give you gifts after they die just in this way. Somebody else might give you something, but it's really from the person on the other side influencing them. Or you can be, well, here's dad's clubs. He'd want you to have them, like that. It's like, that's from dad. It's not just mom said I could have them. It's like your dad worked his magic there. And this was really nice too. This is kind of a bunch of insights from the other side. But apparently there was some sort of, she asked a question. I forget what it was. It was something about estate stuff. She's like, is he mad that we sold this thing to somebody else? Like one of those questions after somebody dies. And immediately he just, as she was talking, he showed me a plaque with his name on it. So I said, well, I see a plaque with his name on it. And I get him focusing only on that and feeling really grateful and thankful for that. And they had indeed, I think at a park or something, they did something in memoriam of him where his name is, written on a plaque, and it's out there for everybody. So what he was trying to say is, I don't care about whatever you're talking about, like whatever, it's just things being dispersed or estate stuff or money stuff, whatever. I don't care. That's what I care about. And thank you. So legacy things mean a lot on the other side, naming somebody after the deceased person or doing something in their honor, doing something because they did so much in their life. So memorials and things really do reach the energy of the other side and touch them personally. Let's be honest, I have all these subscriptions, and the amount of time it takes to cancel them and the hoops that they have you jump through, it works. I was not canceling subscriptions. I was just ignoring and procrastinating until Rocket Money, because Rocket Money alerts you to the subscriptions and cancels them for you with a push of a button. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending, and it actually helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. With Rocket Money, I have full control over my subscriptions and a clear view of my expenses. I can see all my subscriptions in one place, and if I see something I don't want, Rocket Money can help me cancel in a few taps. I love how my dashboard shows me this month's spending compared to last month, so I can clearly see my spending habits. Plus, they'll help me create a custom budget and help keep my spending on track. And Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lower bills for you by up to 20%. All you have to do is submit a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. They'll deal with customer service for you. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and have saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all the app's features. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/KYA. That's rocketmoney.com/KYA. rocketmoney.com/KYA. My fourth insight is you can ask them for help. They really do care about your life purpose, and they're hanging out about that, and they really do support you in it. So I was reading another young woman, and even before the reading, sometimes your loved ones on the other side are a bit pushy, and I love it. I think it's great. And again, this was another pushy loved one on the other side, and she didn't even give me a picture of this person, but I saw her, which is different than how I work, just to give you an idea of how strong this woman was in spirit. So anyway, so I'm looking at my client's selfie. It was the very beginning of the reading, and all of a sudden I see a woman who looks just like her step behind her and put her hands on her shoulders. And I could see her super clear. She looked just like my client, but I could tell it was like her grandma too at the same time. So I described her and I said, "Is that your grandma?" And I think I got her name too, like an M name, like Mary or something. And she's like, "Yes, yes." And then she said something. She said, "The journey that you went through inspired," like something with health or something, "inspired your life." And she was like really there for that. And I didn't know what it meant, but I just told her. And I think sometimes when I do a reading, it's all so much that I'll say stuff at the beginning, and because I talk really fast in the beginning of the reading. So I'm like, da, 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 and she's saying this, and she's saying this, and she said, da, 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 da. And so by the time we worked our way back around to it, it made a lot of sense because the grandma was giving her a lot of support and saying you're something with health and a life journey, and relating it back to her granddaughter's purpose and how she was there for her for that. Well, what happened was this young lady had cancer when she was very young, even younger, and she got through it. And now she helps cancer patients and she journals with them and she's in the MMSF and maybe she'll even post about it so we can all support her. But she helps cancer patients, and it's turned into this amazing life purpose for her, this light working mission. And like, not till like the end of the reading, it kind of occurred to me, I'm like, oh, that's what she was saying, because sometimes on the other side, they'll just say something and also accompany it with like a strong emotion or feeling. And I don't always know what they're saying. I just get what they give me. And sometimes it's up to you to put the puzzle together. But I thought that was really special. That's how she came in immediately, like, wow, I support you with this life purpose and this mission. Okay, the next one, number 5, is a little crazy psychic lady. You ready? Okay, so number 5, your DNA, and I haven't figured this out yet, but it's fascinating to me. Your DNA is some sort of conduit spiritually, like spiritual DNA. There's something in our bodies that I feel like, maybe it's not DNA, maybe it's something else, but there's something in our bodies that I feel like is attached to other realms, other energies, other timelines, other something. In science, we're going to call it, like ancestors. But you can see the genetic markers that attach you to somebody who isn't alive anymore. But I think that it's more than that. I think there's a spiritual thread as well. And let me tell you about this. So I was reading an archaeologist. Well, I didn't get that right away. I got this thing with her, like I got her job without knowing it was an archaeologist. I'm like, I feel like you put pieces together and stories and connecting the past to now and stuff like that. Anyway, so she's an archaeologist and she's super intuitive with her work, right? Like could understand links immediately between what people find and what they mean. And I said, does that make sense to you? And she's like, yeah, like that's my thing, in the field. Like it probably freaks people out. She didn't say that, but she was being humble. But I could tell that she had some sort of amazing gift with her work, understanding what stuff is and what it means, and maybe even how to find other things that they didn't know and make the connections. And it just felt like way more than a random thing that she did this job. So what was crazy was I started seeing, as I was reading her, these crazy symbols that I have never seen before. I did not know what this was. And I felt weird because this was a different reading for me. This one was a little one for the books. And I told her, and I was describing the symbols, and I was seeing a certain type of people and a land and dirt. And what was interesting was there was this woman. And this is different because usually you're dead people on the other side will talk to me, or spirit guides. This one was somebody who died a long time ago. Wasn't a spirit guide, but was kind of but not an ancestor. I guess we could just call it an ancestor. I don't usually get ancestors talking to me from whatever eon this was. And what's nuts was I was also getting some very old perspectives and feelings about life, like not the current collective consciousness thoughts, stuff, like a totally different way of thinking that was not familiar to me at all. It like I was getting in a mindset of a past culture and a different people. I hope that makes sense because it's really hard to explain. if you ever think about how people used to think, I don't think you'd actually know unless you could like step into them from, let's say like 500 BC. Like, what were people thinking about? Like, what was the mindset? Like, what was the programming that made them think however they, like, I stepped into something like that. So anyway, so all this is going on and I feel nuts, but I'm telling her. And then I even said, I'm like, I feel really stupid talking to like a doctor, like an archaeologist about all this stuff I'm getting, And of course I'm like, oh, I have no idea what I'm saying. And I'm trying to reiterate, like, this is not my normal reading. This lady's probably going to think I'm on something. Well, she was quiet. And then she's like, well, guess what? She's like, apparently she got COVID. And after she got COVID, she said she started seeing exactly what I was seeing. The symbols. And it's kind of like her little mission to figure it out. I thought that was crazy amazing. And we talked about it. We explored it. And I'm really excited to see what she finds out or what more comes out as she definitely has the tools to discover things about herself and whatnot. But yeah, it's ancestors are a whole thing. And I really feel like our DNA, like I said, it's not just a genetic component with markers about, what you look like or where you came from or whatnot. I really feel like in some cases it can be an actual spiritual link to a time that's gone, but not quite. And it felt like she was on some mission to make sure something wasn't lost. And so that was really cool. I should probably do a podcast episode on that. I have to learn more about it. And I need more people to read where I can have more experiences like that because it was really interesting. This is a little one, number 6, my 6th insight from the other side. Sometimes, all right, so I had one this week where someone's ex-boyfriend was coming in with a lot of brother energy, like protective, big brother. That was the energy they come in. But that's actually very common. And it's a horrific thing if you lose like a boyfriend, like, you're young or whatever, you lose a boyfriend, or even one of your ex-boyfriends, you find out they've passed, or ex-girlfriend, they passed, or girlfriend. So when you lose somebody who's real and you were young and they were young, only because I've read so many people, it's actually become a pattern, which is sad. They always come through like siblings, like big brother or big sister energy. And you can call on them, back to asking people on the other side. My first one for help. I think, that was maybe my second. I forget. Back to asking people who've died for help. You can ask these people for help too in the realm of being protective, because this one young lady I was reading this week, her ex had passed. And he was coming in, he was apologizing, for stuff. And then he also had a lot of protective energy around her about who she was dating now. Who are you dating? You run him by me first, like acting real big shot about it, but in like kind of a big brother way. And I thought that was nice. And if you did lose somebody, a significant other, when you were young and you think about them and it was, really sad and tragic, you can also think about them as like a sibling energy or just a really good friend, because that's how they feel to me when they come through. And like, everyone lets bygones be bygones. I'm telling you right, that on the other side, especially young love stuff. And my last one, they want you to know that they're okay. And they'll show, I have 2 stories for this because they will show you. And these are 2 stories that happened this week. So the first one was, I was reading somebody and she gave me a picture of her grandpa, and her grandpa had just passed. And I saw him immediately. He was showing me his long legs, and he was moving his long legs, and he wanted to show her, kind of in a way a grandpa would try to make her his granddaughter laugh. And I told her this. I'm like, he's moving him funny and he's making me laugh and he's being like wiggly with his long legs. And he just wants you to know I guess he was a big roller skater, and that was something that they did together, and he was really good at roller skating. And, he just wanted to show her, like, look, I can do it again, because he got older and it was harder to do that stuff. And he wanted to show her like, I'm good on the other side and look at me go. And then this was actually today. I had this lovely, lovely girl, and she had a picture of her dog who passed. And I look, this makes me emotional because it just happened today. So it takes me a minute sometimes. And the dog rushed in at me like the dogs do, perfect little, I think it was a black lab kind of dog, but it was wiggling its little back hips. Like, here, look at me, like jumping from, I guess, like leg to leg, back leg to back leg, like do. And I'm like, your dog really wants you to know that his back legs are moving great, and he's wiggling, and he wants you to see, and he's so excited and happy, and his tail's going too. And I guess he had just a lot of like knee surgeries and stuff back there. And he was showing her like, hey, look at me. I'm good. I just want you to know, I'm good. Just know I'm wiggling. And I love that because they just want you to know that they're okay. I think we all do. That's love, right? When you go to the other side, you just want the people who love you and miss you and think about you to know I'm okay. And also the other thing is they're not worried for you, but they're okay on the other side. That's a big thing I always get. Like, they are okay and they know they're okay. And there's some sort of perspective or whatever where it's like, I'm okay. And guess what? You'll find out soon enough, but not too soon, that you'll be okay too. So don't worry about me. Ask me to help you. And I hope that is a takeaway that you can use after this episode to reach out to your loved ones on the other side and just receive what they want to give you, because they do want to assist and help. This podcast is for you and about you, and I'm so glad you spent some time with us today. What is it about getting an outfit that just makes you feel good? It just boosts your confidence, and Stitch Fix sends style so good you can feel it. They deliver all the confidence that comes from a truly amazing outfit without any of the work. I talk about this with anybody who uses Stitch Fix. We all have this in common. Everything fits so great, especially the pants and the jeans. And that's what I'm always most nervous about when I shop online. Like, is that going to fit me? It always does. And everyone I talk to who uses Stitch Fix, we have the same conversation. It's like a magical fit. Well, my stylist helps take my wardrobe to the next level. She just knows what works for me, sometimes even better than I do myself. She helps me discover new things about my style, get out of my comfort zone a little. It's kind of like my stylish best friend is shopping for me. I just give her my size, style, budget preferences. I am very detailed. She loves it. I order boxes when I want and how I want to. There's no subscription required. And she sends 5 just for me pieces, plus outfit recommendations and pro styling tips. So you can really take these outfits, these pieces further in your wardrobe. I keep what I love. I send back the rest. That's how easy it is. If you don't love something, you just send it back. Shipping, returns, exchanges, always free. Style that makes you feel as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/KYA. That's stitchfix.com/KYA. stitchfix.com/KYA. We were going to end the episode there, but we can't. Something happened, and we thought we would talk about it here. Now, if you're new to the podcast, we're going to call this overtime. Rules of overtime are you can go now. This isn't planned. Nothing we say you can hold against us.
Right. In fact, yes. In fact, if you're still listening and we say something that you don't like, that's on you.
That's on you.
It's not on us.
You stay.
It's off of us. Anything before overtime is on us.
You may hold us accountable.
Right. And I apologize for many things over the years that happened not in overtime.
Right.
But if it's in overtime, then it's on you.
It's
and
on
you. You have to apologize to us for things that we say.
It works the other way.
It works the opposite way. But you can go if you want to go.
But we had to talk about this, and we thought we'd put it here because...
Yeah, why not?
Take it away, Scott.
Okay. So, yeah, I figured because we're talking about mediumship today, we just add this in. Now, I've come a long way, in believing in all this stuff. And, something happened, and I sound crazy. I'm embarrassed to even tell this story. I was embarrassed when I told you this story. I was embarrassed when I told our oldest daughter, Bree, this story. And I'm embarrassed now to tell this story because I don't even know if I believe it. Now that it's been a few days, maybe it's not true. I have no idea. But anyway, you were taping a podcast the other day
I was upstairs
which one
in
were you
the
taking?
office, and I was doing a Zoom interview with your mom and dad podcast. And actually, I don't know how much they edited this, but yeah, let's get to that in a second.
Okay. So me and Abby were hanging out in the living room. And I'm like, let me just go on to Instagram. Let me see what's going on in the world of social media. What's the, you know what I mean?
What's the buzz?
What's the buzz? And I guess this article kept coming up about Courtney Cox from Friends, how she connects to Matthew Perry, who passed, and that he's always with her, whatever. Something
and
like
she
that.
said, he visits me if you believe that sort of thing.
Right. And I'm like, wow, yeah, I definitely believe it. And right up, I didn't even question it. I'm like, of course, yeah. I believe that.
Yes.
And now years ago, I would have said, no, what is this? But yeah, I believe that. And so I'm like, let me just go I'm going to send her. You did a write-up a very nice write-up on Matthew Perry.
When he passed.
Very eloquently written. And I'm like, let me just go send this to her.
Share my Instagram post to her in the DMs.
Yeah, slide it to the DMs, as you guys call it. And so I go to your thing, and it takes me a while to figure out how to do it too. So I get the pic, I get that picture from the post, and it's a black and white photo of him, and all of a sudden I start feeling a little sick.
Okay.
And my throat's starting to kind of close up a little bit. And believe me, I know this sounds bad, but this is true. I believe this. Okay, at least I believe this. And Abby looks over to me and is like, "What's wrong with you, Dad?" I'm like, I don't know. I'm fine. Don't worry about it. I mean, I'm good. I start getting all nervous. And then she just walks out of she just left. And once she left, I sent the thing. I actually did get the photo sent, the post sent. And I just started choking. Literally choking. I could not. I was getting real nervous. There was nobody around because Abby left. You were doing the podcast upstairs. And I'm in the bathroom thinking, I'm just trying to get it out. And
I think you're going to throw up.
I think I'm going to throw up, but I can't. I can't breathe.
Okay.
And, it was just a terribly scary feeling. I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, dude, I love you, but you got to go. You got to go.
Felt like you connected with Matthew Perry.
I'm saying.
It's okay. If you're just tuning in,
yes.
Scott.
That's what I'm claiming, okay?
Right.
I'm claiming, and Matthew Perry's great. I'm just claiming Matthew Perry tried to choke me or drown me or whatever.
I have a different interpretation, but go ahead.
Okay.
But keep going.
All right. So that's happening. I finally catch my breath. I sit down in my grandpa's chair, who passed. I sit there. I feel comfortable. And the cats start going nuts. The cats are going crazy.
Yeah.
And, I still feel kind of sick. So I'm trying to get it, I'm trying to sip some water, get it over with. And I'm saying this out loud. Okay. I am saying this out loud. I'm like, you got to go, dude. You have to leave me alone. Like, please leave me alone. You can't do this to me anymore.
Right.
And I'm saying this out loud.
Right.
And then finally it passes, the cats settle down, and, I'm calmed down and everything. I'm like, okay, all right. I don't know what that was, but I'm never talking about this again. This is nothing. Nothing. Okay. So then you finish your podcast, and I'm not going to tell anyone. I'm not telling anybody this. This is crazy talk. Right now I think it's crazy talk. And then, so then you finally, I don't know how you got to it.
Well, I come out of the room.
Yeah, you came out of the room.
I'm like, oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I'm like, the freaking Wi-Fi. Because the podcast, and this is what, back to the Your Mom and Dad podcast, which I was just on, around 3:40 p.m., the Wi-Fi just went out for no reason. I'm like, what? And it was right when I was giving them a reading of their family, and it kept going out, on, off. I was entering, exiting. And it was the end of the interview, but it was annoying because we had such a great conversation and stuff. And I kept leaving and coming back and leaving and come back, just tech issues. And it felt like spirit stuff, but not from them. Like, it felt like, and I'm like, that's so weird. And I even joked, like, I'm going to blame it on Florida because, sometimes our Wi-Fi is funky around here. So I'm like, all right. So I come out of the room and I'm like, oh, like, so annoying at the end. Like, I hate ending like that with the tech issues. And you're like, what time was that?
Yeah, I turned white.
Right.
I fell down in the chair. I'm like, what time was that?
God,
and it's funny because I checked the clock because I wanted to see if it was an angel number.
Oh my God, that's wow.
So I knew the time.
We've really conditioned you.
Yeah. And it was that exact time. It was 3:40. It started around 3:40. And then I'm like, all right, because I wasn't going to tell.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, fine.
You're like, that's really weird.
I'm like, I have to tell you guys this. And I just, I mean, I felt like a fool. I feel like a fool right
you were
now.
like, you were pacing and you're like, am I crazy? Am I crazy? So here's the deal. Like, this is from my end of things. A couple things. I can actually make this more normal than what it sounds like.
Yeah, please do.
And you
save me here.
Because if you're just tuning in, you're like, okay, you just connect with Matthew Perry. Like, come on.
Yeah,
like,
no, if it was me and I was tuning in and I was, let's say, a guy listening with
you'd be like, turn this charlatan off.
Who is this guy?
Right.
He claims that Matthew Perry tried to choke him. Right. Come on.
All right. So let me tell you what I think. A couple things. I've been doing this a long time. You can't connect with people you don't know. I mean, that's for me. Okay. That's my experience. I'm not going to talk for other people. So I'm always like really leery of somebody saying, I'm connecting to Madonna. No, oh my God. Madonna's alive. Marilyn Monroe. Oh, geez.
Oh, Madonna.
I'm connecting to Marilyn Monroe. I'm like, well, unless I'm in front personally with mediumship, unless I'm with somebody who has a personal connection to that person, it's not going to happen. All right. Like if I'm with her sister or something, like, sure. But if it's just a fan, no, it's not, because there's no personal connection. So for me, what happens is I can connect with people on the other side only if, and this is my own theory, which I think is true, they know that somebody who they do know could see it. So this happened to me once when a famous singer died and they wanted me to connect with him on a radio show. And I'm like, well, I'll try. And I actually did. And it worked really well. And then after, they're like, hey, his daughter was listening to the show. And I was like, okay, that's why it worked. It's the only way it's going to work is if they know it's going to get to somebody who they actually do know. Because when you're a medium, you're just the phone. All right. So they're not going to connect with you unless you're connecting to somebody that they want you to connect with. Anyways, I feel like because there's a chance of, just because my Instagram account's a little bigger and maybe it's like maybe there's some chance that she could have seen that post and gotten some sort of comfort from it. Okay. He came through to try to push that energy forward. Also, he wasn't trying to choke you.
No, you drowning or something?
So what happens is when they connect, and this happens a lot, and I don't want to freak people out. This happens to me all the time, and I got used to it. But when it started happening, and also this is a reason why a lot of people are scared of connecting with people who died. Sometimes when they come through how they died. So it's, and also when they come through how they died without closure, and they're really upset about it. And especially upset about the narrative, or they want to say something different than what's been said, which would totally match up to Matthew Perry's experience, because I feel like the way he died does not reflect how he lived at all. And he's extremely upset that maybe people who have addiction issues would take a hopelessness from this or something. That's my personal feeling from it. And I wrote about that in the post a little bit that I did when he passed. I feel like the way he comes through is intense. And so sometimes they come through how they passed, and how he passed was he probably, God bless him, lost the ability to breathe and he drowned. Right. So I feel like that is a way that they can come through intensely and try to connect with you that way. I've learned in my own mediumship, when that happens to me, to take a minute and slow down and, like, I hear you, give them validation and calmness and, like, you're okay. It's okay. And not get scared and allow them to just, okay, pass it through, and then it stops. But if you're new to this, that can be very, very scary and take you off guard. It did it to me at the beginning. Okay. I once thought I was having a stroke. It was like actually really scary. Yeah. Yeah.
So a couple of things here. Okay. One, I was this has happened to me before, but usually it's like a red-blue. Like a red-blue dad that passed, and it's like kind of
they're trying to get an appointment for their kid.
Right, that has happened to me before.
Right,
and but it's like it was a little different. Like I'm more like sweaty, and get that feeling. I did get. I know we're not going to use the word choked anymore, but I did get choked by the spirit in the what's the name of that?
The Riddle House.
The Riddle House.
Okay, that's
Joseph.
Our first Halloween special.
And I will never go in that house again.
Right, but he does that to Mal and people who. Oh my God, this overtime's a lot.
But yeah, it's overtime.
We're just throwing a lot at you.
And then I'm just saying these times that it's happened to me. So it's happened a lot with the red blue dads.
Yeah,
happened with Joseph at the Riddle House, and then one time you were taping another podcast and they were looking for a girl who had passed and was lost. They were trying to find out, and I couldn't stay in the room anymore to listen. I started choking.
All these people, well, strangulation.
Yeah.
Was how she passed, I believe. And then the guy in the house that you're talking about did die from like hanging
himself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So when this happened, and again, when Matthew Perry decided to, show me how he died or whatever, allegedly died or whatever.
Right.
He's green purple.
Yeah.
So I'm like, green purple's not going to come find me.
Right.
I can't believe I'm talking like
I know.
this. But so am I crazy?
No,
am I crazy?
know. Like Scott's been, you really are having a hard time coming to terms with it. It goes against, I think you have an idea of who you are and your own boundaries and whatnot. Yeah. And when they felt a little bit meshed, then I think you're having a hard time coming to terms with this happening to you.
I mean, maybe at that exact moment where I was sending the photo to Courtney Cox, I just, started, maybe like something was wrong with my body.
Maybe.
Could be. And then the Wi-Fi goes out here in South Florida.
Yeah.
There was no storms in the area, but, I don't know. I mean, Wi-Fi goes out and at the same exact time.
Right, and cats act nuts
The
anyways.
cats were acting crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, it's just,
I don't know.
And we can let it. We don't have to find an answer. We can just sit there.
Right.
I feel like if that happened to me, I would have known what it was because I'm just so used to it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I just needed.
You're not crazy.
Maybe I just needed a bit for the podcast, and I just told this story, and then
I think you're having a hard time with it.
I'm having a terribly hard time.
You've had a hard time this week, and that's why we had to talk about it.
Yeah.
Because it was something that
it was scary too.
Made you feel a little nervous. But I think it's good to tell people how these things can also come about. So, because a lot of people are scared when they connect. And what I noticed is a lot, even on the page, on the Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family page, people say, like, I saw this symbol. Is it bad? Like somebody put up, like, I saw, I did something. I asked for help. And then I saw a black feather. Am I cursed? Is it bad? Like that kind of thing. As humans, our egos, which is the human part of us, will see something that out of the ordinary that actually touches our soul or touches a different part of us. And immediately our ego, because it doesn't want us to change or embrace this kind of stuff, it likes to keep us safe and human, is like, no, it's bad, like that. And so a lot of this stuff that we talk about on the podcast can be seen as like, oh my God, it's bad. It's not bad. People on the other side are just people. We're just trying to connect to you. It can feel funny to your body. It can feel funny to your mind. It can feel funny to your human part, your ego. But that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's kind of feeling funny.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I think I lost all credibility with our our male listeners.
You're really having a hard time.
They were liking me for a while. Now they're going to think, all right.
Well, it's overtime. So
it's overtime. So it's on them.
It's
on them.
This
is on you.
It's on you.
You actually
should have turned it off.
That Matthew Perry tried to connect with me.
All right. Well, let's try this again. This podcast is for you and about you, and we're so glad you spent some time with us today.